My colleague loved to joke around at the department dinner. She suddenly asked me in front of everyone, "I saw you and manager Zhang coming out of the women's restroom together yesterday. Was there something going on?" I was stunned and didn't know how to respond for a moment. She patted my shoulder and said with an ambiguous smile, "No need to be shy, things like this are quite common in the company. We'll keep it a secret for you in front of the boss's wife." Later, the boss's wife thought I was a seductress. She came to the company and slapped me down the stairs, leaving me paralyzed. My colleagues came to the hospital to visit me, but she pointed at me lying on the hospital bed and laughed heartily. "Can a vegetative person get pregnant? Xiao Wang, do you want to give it a try? You're going to die, you." Just kidding. I used all my strength to pull out the oxygen tube. When I woke up again, I had returned to the day of the department gathering. I also started making jokes like she did, but this time, she couldn't laugh anymore. At the department dinner table, Yi Huan held a wine glass in one hand and draped the other over Xiao Wang's shoulder, casually remarking, "Xiao Wang, how come you're already down after just 2 drinks? How many rounds did you battle with your wife last night? And you, Lao Lu, why are you eating so little, with an appetite like that? How are you going to show your wife who's boss when you get home tonight?" "What kind of boss?" Lao Lu asked. Knowingly, Yi Huan munched on peanuts, squinting with a mischievous grin. "What do you think? Ha ha ha." Seeing this scene before me, I finally dared to believe that I had truly been reborn. I had been reborn back to the day of the department gathering, when Yi Huan teased me. In my previous life, it was in the exact same setting. Yi Huan teased everyone in the entire department before finally turning to me. "I saw you coming out of the women's restroom with Director Zhang yesterday. Was there something going on?" Caught off guard by her sudden question, I was momentarily speechless. She patted my shoulder and said with a suggestive smile, "No need to be shy, these things are quite common in the company. We'll keep it a secret from the boss's wife." The entire room erupted in laughter. "Yi Huan, you..." My face turned as red as a rooster's comb, but having studied the 9-year compulsory education since childhood and deeply influenced by propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame, my tongue seemed tied in knots at that moment, and I couldn't utter a single word of rebuttal. Seeing me flush with anger, my colleague not only didn't try to calm me down but instead mocked, "Why are you getting so worked up? Yi Huan was just joking with you." "What? Can't you take a joke? If you can't take a joke, you're just not fitting in." I had only been at the job for 3 months and hadn't even passed the probation period yet. How could I dare to clash with my department colleagues? I could only force an awkward smile. I thought it was just a minor setback, something I could endure and move past, but unexpectedly, not long after, the boss's wife came to the company. She thought I was a seductress and slapped me so hard that I fell down the stairs, ending up paralyzed. Out of kindness, Yi Huan brought all the colleagues from the department to visit me in the hospital, yet she pointed at me lying on the hospital bed and laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha, look at her, she looks just like a mummy." She sized me up from head to toe. How is she supposed to go to the bathroom like this, with a catheter? Even so, she still wasn't satisfied and nudged Xiao Wang beside her with her elbow. "Can a vegetative person get pregnant? Xiao Wang, why don't you give it a try?" Xiao Wang pushed her back, scolding, "You're asking for trouble." Yi Huan playfully punched his shoulder with a grin. "I just thought the atmosphere was too heavy, so I was just joking." They laughed, joked, and argued, completely ignoring the fact that I was still lying motionless in the hospital bed. That night, some sensation returned to my fingers. I couldn't bear the thought of becoming a half-dead cripple for the rest of my life. Using the last bit of strength, I pulled out the oxygen tube. I never expected that heaven would give me a chance to start over. Holding my wine glass, I coldly watched Yi Huan flirting with Xiao Wang across from me. She had already made a round of jokes, and the next one was going to be aimed at me. "Joy, I saw you and Mr. Zhang coming out of the women's restroom together yesterday. Was there something going on?" I had intended to take the initiative, but I didn't expect her to ask this question first. But this time, I was no longer as unprepared as before. I looked at her calmly and said, "Yes, Mr. Zhang was drunk and went into the wrong restroom. I helped him out. I almost forgot. But I think there was another girl in the cubicle he went into." I rolled my eyes toward her and said thoughtfully, "That girl actually looks a lot like Huan." Caught off guard by the unexpected counterattack, Yi Huan was also stunned. Her hand, holding the wine glass, froze in mid-air, but as someone who has been through years of joking around, she quickly regained her composure. "Joy, what kind of joke are you making? This is no laughing matter." She waved her hand dismissively and laughed. I gave a slight curl of my lips. "I'm really not good at joking, unlike you, who's so humorous." Yes, even though I've only been on the job for 3 months, I've already sensed it. This Yi Huan has established a carefree and straightforward persona in the department, getting along well with all the male colleagues and treating them like buddies. She really enjoys joking around, especially the kind with a risque twist. When it comes to cracking jokes, all the male colleagues feel they can't match her. On my first day at work, the team leader didn't assign me any tasks. After installing all the software, I could only sit at my desk, lost in thought. She sat down next to me and immediately asked, "What are you daydreaming about?" "Thinking about a man." Her loud voice instantly drew everyone's attention. My face flushed bright red, and I quickly waved my hands in denial. While eating in the cafeteria, I casually mentioned that I like to eat grilled sausages. Suddenly, she covered her mouth and laughed in front of everyone. Widening her eyes, she exclaimed in an exaggerated tone, "What? You like to eat grilled sausages? You actually like to eat grilled sausages?" I was confused, but when I saw the looks from my other colleagues nearby, I realized that Yi Huan was making a dirty joke. My face instantly turned ashen, yet she said lightly, "Just a joke. You're not really angry, are you?" We were in the advertising department, discussing with Xiao Wang that the model's posing was incorrect. Yi Huan passed by and suddenly blurted out, "What pose? Call me daddy, and I'll teach you." When she said this, she smiled mysteriously, her eyes looking quite ambiguous. My face flushed as red as Guangong's, but she burst out laughing and said, "I was talking about posing for photos. What were you thinking? Did your mind wander somewhere else? Confess honestly." Treating rudeness as social confidence, and lack of boundaries as straightforwardness. Yet, for some reason, everyone tacitly agreed that her behavior was perfectly fine. There was even a faint sense of immersion and enjoyment in it. As soon as I said this, the atmosphere at the dinner table instantly grew tense. Although I hadn't been with the company for long, everyone could see that I was the person in the department who couldn't take a joke. Every time Yi Huan teased me, my face would flush for half an hour. Now I actually find myself saying this. Everyone looked at each other, pondering how much credibility my words held. Seeing the tense atmosphere at the dinner table, Yi Huan anxiously slapped the table. "Xiao Yi, don't slander and defame me here." Before I could speak, another female colleague, Sister Sun, who was sitting nearby, spoke up. "Yi Huan, how come when you speak without restraint about others it's just a joke, but when others say something about you, it's slander? You joke about others every day, and I thought you could take a joke yourself. So it's a case of, the magistrates are free to burn down houses, while the common people are forbidden even to light lamps. Don't be such a hypocrite." I glanced at Sister Sun, and a sense of shared hardship suddenly stirred within me. Sister Sun was also one of the victims of Yi Huan's jokes. Just a few minutes earlier, Yi Huan had mentioned her. "Sister Sun, why do I always see you running to the bathroom every day? Can't hold it in after giving birth?" It was the first time I had seen such a terrible joke, using women's childbirth injuries as a topic of conversation. A strong sense of discomfort welled up inside me. Sister Sun's face immediately fell, but within a few seconds, she returned to normal, smiling faintly and saying, "No choice, I'm used to it." Seeing that she, as the person involved, was holding back without saying anything, as an onlooker, would have seemed meddlesome if I had jumped in at that moment, which is why I kept quiet. Looking back now, Sister Sun must have been putting up with her for a long time. I just had to endure it because I needed to maintain good relationships with my colleagues in the department. After I made that joke, Yi Huan didn't speak for the rest of the evening. The dinner ended in a somewhat tense atmosphere. When it was time to head home, Yi Huan organized everyone to carpool or share a taxi. They just skipped right over me. Sister Sun patted my shoulder and invited me to ride in her car. In the car, Sister Sun glanced at me and asked, "Did you really see Yi Huan with Director Zhang?" I stuck out my tongue and said, "No, I was just making it up. She started it by talking about me first." Sister Sun pursed her lips meaningfully, "But I really saw it. Last night, when I was squatting in the bathroom, I heard their voices. They thought no one was in the bathroom and started. After they finished, I heard you come in. So, I guess Yi Huan thought you had discovered her secret, so she wanted to strike first." It wasn't until Sister Sun said this that I belatedly remembered. Last night, I was updating the game at the company. The game package was huge, and the internet was slow, so I didn't finish until after 11 p.m. Before leaving, I went to the restroom while playing on my phone. It seemed like I saw two people hurriedly coming out of the restroom, but I didn't even look up and had no idea who they were. I never expected it to be something like this. Thinking back to my previous life, when Yi Huan used this joke to frame me, causing me to be unjustly accused, beaten into a cripple as a seductress. While she herself got off scot-free, I couldn't help but clench my fists tightly, seeing me holding back my displeasure. Sister Sun spoke up again. Since you know Yi Huan has someone backing her, you should be more careful with your words and actions from now on, and avoid crossing her. Before, when Yi Huan's jokes went too far, I could still talk back a few times, but after having a child, I've lost my competitiveness in the market and don't dare to anymore. I can only avoid trouble as much as possible and stay at this company for as long as I can. Just think of her words as nonsense. And it won't feel so bad, she sighed and said thoughtfully, who made me choose this path myself. Hearing Sister Sun say these words so nonchalantly, my heart ached with each passing moment. Kind-hearted people only turn all their thorns inward, against themselves, entanglement, pain, and internal strife, yet the more this happens, the more wicked people take advantage, encroaching further. Why should I give in to her? I won't. She must taste the bitter fruit of her own actions to understand what justice is, and that good and evil will be repaid. When I got home in the evening, a message popped up in the work group chat. It was sent by Yi Huan. She at me in the group chat, at Joy, are all the materials you were supposed to prepare on Friday ready? When the team leader assigned the tasks on Friday, she said they were due on Tuesday, but she piled all the work on me. Today is Saturday. Asking about work at midnight on a Saturday is definitely not with good intentions. I'll just see what other tricks she has up her sleeve. Without replying, I directly turned on Do Not Disturb. Early Monday morning, I opened the workgroup chat and saw several unread messages. Xiao Wang, I guess Xiao Qiao is already asleep. Yi Huan, Xiao Qiao, I'm De Qiao. Xiao Wang, what a coincidence. Yi Huan, forget it. I guess Xiao Qiao is off with her Zhou Yu enjoying some intimate time. I'm the only one still thinking about work on a big weekend like this. Old Lu, snickering. Yi Huan. But I wonder how Zhou Yu would react if he found out Xiao Qiao was having an affair. TSK. Seeing this, I felt inexplicably angry. It seems Yi Huan still hasn't given up on throwing this dirty water on me, since she shamelessly made insinuations about me directly in the work group chat. I won't indulge her either. I'll just call her out right there in the work group. Oh dear. I wonder who's been relieving themselves all over my phone. The stench is practically leaping off the screen. Yi Huan was puzzled. Yi Huan, who are you calling shameless? I laughed. Sister Huan, I was just joking. I wasn't talking about you. Before she could reply, I sent out the material list I had prepared and at Ed the team leader. The list is ready. If there are no issues, I'll go print it. The group chat fell silent, with no one responding. After arriving at my workstation, I didn't see Yi Huan for quite a while. While printing materials, Sister Sun sent me a private message. Didn't I tell you not to confront her? Why couldn't you hold back again? Aren't you still in your probation period? I sneered coldly. Some people are acting flirtatious themselves, yet they think everyone else is just as shameless. Since she dared to pull down her pants and shit on my head, she must be prepared for the risk of that shit splattering back onto her own ass. How can she expect to have all the good things for herself? Don't worry, Sister Sun, even if the team leader really fires me over this, I'll still smear all the shit she dropped right back on her face. Sister Sun was speechless and simply sent me a thumbs up emoji. Youth is truly something. It took a long time before Yi Huan finally returned from the direction of the general manager's office. When she sat down in her seat, she shot me a fierce glare. The team leader replied in the group chat, at Xiao Yi, be mindful of your words and actions. Don't bring your emotions into your work. Don't forget, you haven't passed your probation yet. You're emotionally unstable right now. Move to the small conference room first and calm down by yourself. It seems Yi Huan has already reported me to the boss and is now starting to make things difficult for me. A dark room is just a dark room. Being alone in it is actually more peaceful. I started moving my things. Xiao Wang came over to watch the commotion. Oh, Xiao Qiao, moving workstations. Need any help? I smiled but said nothing. Yi Huan snorted beside me. Ha, still trying to crack jokes like others, thinking you're really funny. Huh, joked your way into being locked up, didn't you? I stopped what I was doing, looked at her, and smiled. Of course, I'm not as skilled as Sister Huan yet. I still have a lot to learn from you. Yi Huan proudly lifted her chin. I blinked and turned to the others in the office, raising my voice. By the way, Sister Huan, were you just telling jokes to the general manager? I passed by the office and heard you and Manager Zhang laughing so happily. Did I just hear him say, harder? Was your joke not hitting the mark with Director Zhang, so he told you to try harder with your jokes? Yi Huan's face instantly darkened. She slammed the mouse onto the floor, and it immediately shattered into pieces, fragments flying everywhere. I continued to pack my things nonchalantly. Oh, Sister Huan, don't be angry. It's just that after you reported me to the general manager, I got locked in the dark room. I couldn't help but make some inappropriate associations. If you feel uncomfortable, just treat it as a joke. Yi Huan angrily raised her hand, about to hit me. I quickly grabbed her right hand and saw the water-embedded nail art on it. If I got hit by that, I couldn't imagine how much it would hurt. I looked at her, forcing a smile as I said, Sister Huan, I already said I was just joking. Why are you getting so angry? Could it be that you can't take a joke? Please don't go complaining to the general manager again. What if he gets angry and fires me from the company? Wouldn't that just confirm that there's something fishy going on between you two? I wonder what the boss's wife would think if she found out. The general manager is afraid of his wife, and everyone in the company knows it, coupled with my experience from the previous life, where I was slapped so hard that I ended up disabled. I was even more convinced that if Mr. Zhang's wife found out about this, Yi Huan would not have a good outcome. In the previous life, she used jokes to create a smokescreen, shifting the blame onto me while she remained completely unscathed and walked away unscathed. After injuring me, the boss's wife was imprisoned for causing injury through negligence, and all her assets were transferred to Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang took the opportunity to promote Yi Huan, who then became even more domineering within the company. This time, there won't be such good fortune again. Colleagues in the office temporarily set aside their work and pricked up their ears to listen to the gossip. My detailed and vivid description sparked their imagination about various aspects of the situation. The colleagues began whispering among themselves, could it be that Yi Huan and Director Zhang really? I told you, last time, I saw Director Zhang drinking directly from Yi Huan's cup, and you said I was mistaken. I just saw Yi Huan coming from the direction of the general manager's office, and she was adjusting her skirt as she walked out. I always thought the team leader favored Yi Huan so much because she and the team leader were. It seems the team leader was just a smokescreen. What? Yi Huan is always in the office with Xiao Wang, calling him dad and son. I originally thought she and Xiao Wang were. Yi Huan instantly found herself at the center of the whirlpool. She looked at everyone, shaking her head in denial. There's nothing between me and Mr. Zhang. We're all just buddies. Nothing as dirty as what Joey said. Her colleagues didn't believe her at all. They just smiled meaningfully and went back to their own work. Seeing her at a loss, Xiao Wang found it amusing and gave her a playful pinch on the butt. Forget it, Xiao Qiao was just teasing you. Let's not stoop to her level. Xiao Wang happened to run into the line of fire at that moment. She was already frustrated with nowhere to vent her anger, so she slapped his hand away. What do you mean, don't get handsy. Show some respect for your father. After moving to the small dark room, I continued to finish the work at hand without being affected in the slightest. The team leader sent me a private message, telling me to focus on my work. I remember you were quite honest when you first joined the company. How come you're acting like a troublemaker now? How you get along with your colleagues is something you need to handle on your own, but you can't let your work fall behind. I can protect you for a while, but I can't protect you forever. I could sense the team leader's good intentions. That's true. Even though I only stayed for a short 3 months, I noticed it too. In the advertising team, there's a mom who frequently takes leave, 2 middle-aged men who slack off, and a genius who does nothing but crack jokes. I'm the only one working diligently like a beast of burden. Without me, who would carry the performance for him? Team leader, are you sure you want to keep this rotten apple in the barrel? The next day, the team leader held a morning meeting to assign tasks. In the past, our entire team would divide the work and complete it together, but this time, the team leader suggested splitting into 2 groups, each coming up with their own proposal. The final outcome of the selected proposal would be linked to the year-end bonus. Xiao Wang raised a different opinion. Team leader, there are only 5 of us, and we still need to split into groups. Isn't that a waste of time? Working together would be much more efficient. The team leader shook his head and refused. Previously, our team's proposals were criticized several times by the higher-ups. Splitting into 2 groups this time is also to produce better proposals. When everyone is mixed together, there will inevitably be some who try to slack off. Only when competing separately do you realize who is swimming naked. After the morning meeting, both Old Lu and Xiao Wang eagerly approached me, wanting to be in the same group as me. Although they are a bit muddled, they clearly see who in the department works hard and who doesn't. I waved my hand and refused. Why aren't you in the same group as Sister Huan? It would be so much fun to be with her. she even tells jokes to cheer you up. I'm a bit old-fashioned and not very good at joking, so I probably don't fit in well with your group." Xiao Wang and old Lu were left speechless, their faces turning pale with frustration. In the end, Sister Sun and I formed a group together. Although Sister Sun occasionally took leave for her child's matters, when she was at work, her attitude was much more serious than those two middle-aged men who only knew how to hide in the hallway and smoke all day. We worked together, with me responsible for coming up with the plan and Sister Sun helping me refine and perfect the details. It only took 2 days to complete a plan that would have taken an entire team a week to finish. Meanwhile, Xiao Wang and old Lu joined the group that Yi Huan was in. On Friday evening, Sister Sun and I booked a meeting room for a final push. Coincidentally, the next room was occupied by 3 other people. With the deadline approaching, the 3 of them were still sitting in the meeting room discussing the plan, scratching their heads in frustration, completely out of ideas. "Huan, you always have so many ideas, can you think of something quickly?" Yi Huan was fixing her manicure, casually glancing at Xiao Wang. "How dare you speak to your father like that? Shouldn't you be the one preparing the proposal and presenting it to me?" "Your father? Hey, let's drop the father-son talk for now and focus on brainstorming the proposal. It's tied to the year-end bonus. What's the matter? Can't survive without that year-end bonus? Or is it that without the year-end bonus, your wife won't let you touch her? Tell Dad about it, and Dad will help you deal with her." At this point, Xiao Wang finally couldn't hold back anymore. He slammed the table forcefully and said, "Yi Huan, can you be serious for once, at a time like this? You're still joking around with me. Do you think you're being particularly cute?" The 3 of them ended up in an unpleasant situation. Joking around can usually serve as a spice in dull work, but if all you can do is crack jokes, that's another matter entirely. The atmosphere in the meeting room froze for a moment. Seeing this, old Lu hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over. "We're all brothers here, and Huan is right. It's just a proposal, why let it get so tense?" He walked over and sat down beside Yi Huan. He looked her up and down with a suggestive gaze. "Why are you wearing such a short skirt?" Seeing that Yi Huan showed no sign of resistance, he grew even bolder, slipping his hand under her skirt. "Missing a man, old Lu, what are you doing?" Yi Huan suddenly jumped up in a rage, shoving old Lu to the ground. Old Lu froze in embarrassment. "No, just kidding, why are you getting so worked up? You dare to take advantage of your own father, I'm going to report you for sexual harassment." Old Lu also got angry. "When you were making dirty jokes and suggestive comments to me before, when you were drunk and sitting on my lap, hugging and groping me all over, why didn't you say anything about sexual harassment then?" Yi Huan pointed at old Lu. "I was just joking with you because I considered you a brother. How could you have such filthy thoughts about your own brother?" "Old Lu, I misjudged you. And besides, when has a woman ever sexually harassed a man? It's always men harassing women," old Lu said indignantly. "Now you remember you're a woman. When you were calling us brothers and saying Dad and Son all the time, you didn't seem to know it then." The meeting room wasn't soundproof, so Sun Jia and I, who were in a meeting next door, heard every word clearly. We both burst into laughter but didn't dare to make a sound. In the end, I found it too brilliant and couldn't help but push open the door to this conference room. Looking at the 3 of them, I couldn't help but chuckle and say, "Old Lu, don't you know that only Director Zhang can joke about her?" Old Lu glared angrily at Yi Huan and slammed the materials onto the table. "If it weren't for certain people constantly throwing themselves at me, do you think I'd even bother to glance at her? Someone who's always spouting dirty jokes, and now you're trying to act all innocent with me. What a downer." Old Lu's face flushed red and then turned pale as he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Xiao Wang also packed up his computer, shot Yi Huan a glare, and left awkwardly. When we submitted the proposal every other week, Sister Sun and I delivered a perfect answer. The other group, however, turned in a blank sheet. The team leader gave the 3 of them a meaningful glance and shook his head. He took our proposal and reported it to the higher-ups. When the plan was finally settled, there was an inexplicable extra name in the announced list of team members, Yi Huan. Seeing this name following mine, I wasn't particularly surprised. It just felt like stepping in a pile of dog shit. "It's a bit disgusting." Sister Sun also found it strange. "What's going on? Could there be a mistake? Should we talk to the team leader about it?" I shook my head. "I know very well that since the result has already come out, there must be some behind-the-scenes maneuvering that we're unaware of. This matter is definitely not something the team leader could decide on his own. If we can't get rid of this rotten apple, wouldn't the team leader be disgusted too? He's probably even more disgusted than I am. but that bad apple won't be happy for much longer. I deliberately raised my voice in the office and sighed. Who can blame them? They have a special relationship with Director Zhang. My colleague's expressions grew even more peculiar. I knew the seeds of doubt had been planted. All I need to do now is wait quietly on the sidelines, waiting for the gossip within the company to shift its focus elsewhere. Sure enough, one morning when I arrived at the office, I immediately heard colleagues whispering and murmuring around me. It seemed something had happened in the company. Walking towards the office, I ran into the imposing landlady, who weighed nearly 200 pounds. At the entrance of the hallway, I avoided her gaze, but she still called out to me, "Hey, where is the advertising department?" Her voice boomed like a bell. In my previous life, we had met in almost the exact same scenario. She asked me where the advertising department was, and I said I happened to be from the advertising department. She asked for my name, and as soon as I said it, that 100-pound slap came down from the sky, leaving me completely disoriented. Now, whenever I see her, my cheek and the back of my neck still reflexively ache intensely. I forced a slight smile. "I am from the advertising department." She looked me up and down and asked, "What's your name?" "Joy E." She averted her gaze and followed closely behind me. "Take me to find Yi Huan." After bringing the boss's wife to the office, I pointed out Yi Huan's workstation to her. She had just arrived at her workstation and was using a makeup mirror to touch up her lipstick. The boss's wife walked straight to Yi Huan's workstation. "Yi Huan." Yi Huan turned around, raising an eyebrow. "What's wrong?" Before she could react, a thunderous slap descended from above. With a sharp smack, the entire office fell silent. Yi Huan was knocked down onto the keyboard, and it took her over 10 seconds to barely lift her head again. 2 lines of crimson blood trickled from her nostrils as she mumbled, "Who are you?" The landlady gave Yi Huan no time or space, grabbing her hair again and slapping her left and right more than a dozen times in a row. "You little vixen, how dare you seduce my man? Don't you even know who I am?" After slapping her, still feeling unsatisfied, she grabbed her head and smashed it against the monitor, leaving a dent in the screen. All of this happened within just 1 minute. Everyone in the office was stunned, and no one even thought to call security. Of course, I thought of that, but I don't care about her. By the time the security guards arrived, Yi Huan had already been beaten half to death. Yi Huan was hospitalized, but her injuries were far less severe than mine in my previous life. At the very least, all 4 of her limbs were still fully functional. I kindly suggested that our department colleagues go visit her at the hospital together. Seeing her face wrapped in bandages, I couldn't help but laugh. "Sister Huan, you look just like a mummy right now." But those more malicious jokes were still sealed away by my moral bottom line, and I couldn't bring myself to say them. Yi Huan was so angry she could barely breathe, panting heavily, but she didn't dare to move recklessly, because moving would pull on the wound. Seeing her so angry made me even happier. "Sister Huan, don't be mad. I was just joking with you. You're all alone in the hospital, and it must be so boring. I was just trying to cheer you up with a little joke." Hearing this, Sister's son couldn't help but join in. "Yeah, Yi Huan, how are you feeling now? Can you go to the bathroom on your own? If it's really inconvenient, you can always let us know. I can buy you a bedpan so you don't accidentally wet the hospital bed." "That wouldn't be good." Xiao Wang also spoke up. Mr. Zhang's wife was detained for 2 days before Mr. Zhang bailed her out, in front of the entire company. Mr. Zhang bowed his head and apologized to his wife, saying it was you who seduced him. He said that you started off calling him brother, and when he wasn't paying attention, you touched his private parts. That's why he couldn't resist. Huan, you just love joking around too much. It's fine to joke with the guys in the department, but how could you joke around with Mr. Zhang like that? Everyone knows he's the most afraid of his wife, and this company belongs to his father-in-law. That joke went a bit too far. Old Lu still seemed to hold a grudge against her over the last incident. Not giving her a friendly look, he left only 4 words, "You brought it on yourself." After leaving the hospital, we returned to work at the company. In the elevator, I overheard a few unfamiliar colleagues chatting. Among them, a woman's laughter was the most unrestrained. She playfully pinched the buttocks of a male colleague beside her and laughed. "Little Jiang, your butt is quite perky." She then glanced at his chest muscles and added, "Your chest is well toned too. It looks," she said, shifting her gaze to another girl nearby, her eyes landing on her chest, "it looks like it's almost catching up to Xiao Li's 38D. I instantly had a stress reaction. Isn't this just another Yi Huan? The female colleague who was teased by her blushed and unconsciously shrank her neck. The male colleague was also somewhat embarrassed, but due to their colleague relationship, he couldn't directly retort, "Come on, let Dad feel it and see how your chest compares to mine," the girl said, reaching out again to touch the boy's chest muscles. I stepped forward and slapped her hand away mid-air. "What are you doing?" She froze. Suddenly, he burst into laughter and said, "Who are you?" "I'm just joking with my good buddy. What's it got to do with you?" I snorted coldly. "Whether you're joking or not. Behaving so uncivilly in public is disgusting to my eyes." She was about to argue, but I didn't give her any chance. Some people always like to use joking as a pretext to make inappropriate, boundary-crossing moves. If you refuse, they say you can't take a joke and don't fit in. This doesn't prove how capable or charismatic you are, it only proves that you're using your shamelessness to subtly bully others. After hearing my impassioned speech, the female colleague who had been teased seemed to think of something, and her eyes lit up. At that moment, the elevator doors opened, and several people stepped out ahead of me. The tough-looking girl glanced back at me and cursed, "Crazy." Before the elevator doors closed, I saw her reach out to link arms with another girl. The girl hunched her shoulders, her body stiffening slightly. The elevator doors closed. After that, I never ran into them again. I wonder how that girl is doing, but it doesn't really have much to do with me anymore. Another matter concerning Yi Huan will be left for another Qiao Yi to handle. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The night before the college entrance exam, my mother stole my admission ticket and knelt before a shaman, kowtowing, "Great Immortal, as long as you can protect Yaozu's life, trade this dead girl's life for his. In my previous life, my younger brother killed someone while driving under the influence, and my mother used my top scholar's fate to exchange for his peace and fortune. I failed the exam, had my legs broken by them, and was sold to the village fool for a bride price, ultimately dying a tragic death in the cowshed. Before I died, my mother pointed at my nose and cursed, "You're the older sister, your fate is tough, it's your blessing to take on the disaster for your brother." My brother, however, became a nouveau riche by picking up bargains, stepping on my bones to enjoy wealth and glory. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the night the sorceress performed the ritual. Want to swap fates? While they weren't paying attention, I replaced the birth date and time of my younger brother, which was pressed under the formation, with that of the rabid dog that had just been killed at the village entrance. In this life, I will watch each of you face retribution. The thunder outside the window rumbled loudly, the dim yellow light bulb in the main room flickered twice. I lay on the hard plank bed in the inner room, shivering all over. Through a thin door curtain, my mother's harsh voice drifted in, "Great Immortal, is this enough? Can the fact that Yaozu killed someone really be covered up?" The shaman's voice was shrill, like a rooster being strangled. "As long as this scapegoat curse is completed, the resentment of the dead will be transferred entirely onto this girl. By then, your son will enjoy great wealth and prosperity, while this girl will become the scapegoat." My mother let out a long sigh of relief, her tone filled with relief. "That's good, that's good. Anyway, this dead girl is just a money-losing burden. After raising her for 18 years, this is all she's good for. As long as Yaozu is safe, not to mention taking her life, even if they wanted mine, that can't be given, so just take hers." I gripped the straw mat beneath me tightly, my nails dug into my flesh, sharp and painful. This pain reminds me that I have been reborn. I have been reborn on the night before the college entrance exam, the very night that altered my fate in my previous life. It was also a stormy night like this. My younger brother, Li Yaozu, secretly took the family's tractor out to fool around and ended up killing an old man from the neighboring village. He was so scared that he wet his pants and ran home wailing. My mother's first reaction wasn't to call the police, but to find the most sinister shaman from 10 miles around. They set up a ritual using my birth details. The next day, the family of the old man who had been hit suddenly dropped the lawsuit, claiming the old man had died from a fall. As for me, I was originally an excellent student, but I suddenly fainted during the exam and handed in a blank paper. After that, my life gradually spiraled into an abyss. "Mom, I'm scared," Li Yaozu's voice rang out, carrying the spoiled arrogance of someone who had been indulged. "That creepy girl is always so gloomy. If I take her life, will I become unlucky too?" Click. A crisp slapping sound rang out, but it wasn't on Li Yaozu's face, it was on his thigh. My mother soothed him, saying, "Pa, Pa. Children's words bear no ill omen. The Great Immortal said she has a lowly fate, while you have a noble fate, using her luck to fill your pit. That's only natural. After tonight, you'll be able to go to college smoothly, become a high-ranking official, and make a fortune in the future. As for her, My mother snorted coldly and spat a thick glob of phlegm on the ground. Tomorrow I'll keep her locked up at home, she won't be going anywhere. In a couple of days, that fool's family will come to propose marriage. I've already accepted the betrothal gift, 30,000 yuan, perfect for buying you a new phone. Li Yaozu chuckled with a grin. Mom, you're the best. I want the latest Apple product. Buy it, I'll buy it for you. A loving mother and a filial child. What a heartwarming scene of a loving mother and a filial child. I sat up from the bed. By the light of the lightning, I could clearly see the calendar on the wall. June 6th, less than 10 hours left until the college entrance examination. There's less than half an hour left before the magic circle that ruined my life is activated. The door curtain was abruptly pulled aside. My mother walked in, holding a bowl of pitch-black talisman water. Seeing me sitting there, her face immediately fell. Stop pretending to be dead. Get up and drink this. The bowl emitted a burnt, fishy stench. In my previous life, I was forced to drink this talisman water, fell into a deep sleep for an entire day, and missed the first exam. I huddled in the corner of the bed and didn't take it. What is this? My mother impatiently shoved the bowl toward me, splashing a few drops of broth onto the quilt. Calming soup, to help you feel more refreshed for tomorrow's exam. Your mom made it especially for you. Drink it quickly. Made it especially. Are you deliberately sending me off? I looked at that bowl of dark liquid, my stomach churning. I won't drink it, it's too hot. I turned my head away. My mother slammed the bowl heavily onto the bedside table. You ungrateful wretch, after all the hard work I've put into serving you, you still dare to be picky. Li Zhaodi, I'm telling you, I'm the one who calls the shots in this house. Drink it, or I'll beat you to death today. She raised her hand to slap me. I didn't dodge. The slap landed solidly on my face. It stung fiercely, but inside, I was laughing. Hit him. The harder she hit, the less psychological burden I would have. When seeking revenge, Li Yaozu shouted from outside, Mom, hurry up, the great immortal says the time is almost here. My mother withdrew her hand and glared at me fiercely. Stay put, I'll deal with you later. She picked up the bowl of talisman water and turned to leave, probably in a hurry to perform that life exchange ritual. The moment the door curtain fell, I heard her cursing outside, an ungrateful wretch who can't be raised properly. I should have strangled you at birth. I climbed down from the bed, barefoot. I stepped onto the cold cement floor. In the main hall, the shaman was arranging a few red papers. The one in the center had my name and birth details written on it, and the other one, pressed under the incense burner, belongs to Li Yaozu. I hold my breath. Li Yaozu, since you're so eager to take others' lives, I'll give you one, the life of a mad dog. The smoke in the main room was choking. The shamaness muttered incantations under her breath, clutching a handful of glutinous rice in her hand, occasionally tossing it into the candle flame. The flames leaped half a meter high, casting flickering shadows across my mother's greedy face. I hid in the shadows behind the door curtain, my eyes fixed intently on the incense burner. Memories from my past life surged like a tide, almost drowning me. It was the third day after the college entrance exams ended, had missed the exams and locked myself in my room. Crying, my mother kicked the door open, threw all my books into the yard, and set them on fire. What's with all the crying? If you didn't get in, you didn't get in. We don't have the money to let you repeat a year. Wang Ermatzi from the next village has taken a liking to you. You're getting married to him tomorrow. Wang Ermatzi is a 40-year-old fool who also beats people. I knelt on the ground, begging her, Mom, please, let me repeat the year. I promise I can get into university, and I'll earn money to support you in the future. My mother kicked me right in the heart. Repeating a year? Do you think your brother's accident doesn't cost money? Selling you off would be just the thing to fill this hole. I raised you all these years just for this day. I was bound with ropes and stuffed into Wang Ermatzi's tractor. Li Yaozu stood at the door, holding his newly bought phone, playing games while making faces at me. Sis, just go in peace. When I make my fortune, I'll burn Joss paper for you. That was the last thing he ever said to me. Later, I was at Wang Ermatzi's house, working during the day and getting beaten at night. I wanted to run away, but I was caught and had my leg broken. They locked me in the cowshed, where I slept with the livestock. The winter was bitterly cold, and I could only keep warm by hugging the cows, until the day I died. My mother came to see me. She was wearing a mink coat and a gold necklace, which Li Yaozu had bought for her after he made his fortune. She covered her nose in disgust, standing outside the cowshed, not even willing to spare me a glance. Zhaodi, don't blame me for being heartless. If we hadn't transferred your brother's misfortune to you back then, how could our family enjoy such a good life today? You're the older sister, with a tough fate. That's your blessing. blessing, to hell with that blessing, I was frozen to death, starved to death, beaten to death. Is this my good fortune? And that murderer, Li Yaozu, took my luck and sailed smoothly, becoming a big boss, respected by everyone. How is that fair? Why can evildoers roam free without punishment? Why must the victims suffer eternal damnation? I refuse to accept this. This unwillingness turned into a raging fire, burning so fiercely that my entire being ached. Zhaodi, is that dead girl sleeping like the dead? My mother's voice suddenly sounded outside the door curtain, interrupting my memories. I immediately held my breath, curled back into bed, and pulled the blanket over my head. Footsteps approached, the door curtain was lifted. My mother stood by the bed and gave me a push. Are you really dead asleep? Even pigs can't sleep as soundly as you, she cursed, seemingly relieved, and turned to walk out. Great immortal, that wretched girl has fallen asleep. Let's begin. The voice of the sorceress came from the main hall. All right, bring the boy's fingernails and hair, and also, go fetch a bowl of blood from that dead dog in the yard. Make sure it's still warm. Dead dog. My heart skipped a beat. It was a rabid dog from the village entrance. It bit someone a couple of days ago and was beaten to death with sticks by the villagers. The body was thrown into the stinking ditch outside our courtyard wall. The witch actually wants to use dog blood as a catalyst. They say dog blood wards off evil, but it's actually to cover up the sinister aura of the ritual array. My mother responded and hurriedly walked out. Li Yaozu complained beside her, Mom, do I have to go too? That dog smells awful. Stay put, kneel on the mat and don't move. My mother yelled at him. Footsteps faded away, followed by the sound of the courtyard gate opening. The opportunity has come. I rolled out of bed. This time, my movements were lighter than a cat's. I lifted a corner of the door curtain. In the main hall, the shaman was facing away from me, tidying up the items on the altar. Li Yaozu knelt on the prayer mat, head bowed as he played with his phone, completely unaware of his surroundings. Under the incense burner, there was a red paper with Li Yaozu's birth date and time written on it. In the corner of the altar, there was a pile of miscellaneous items. I saw a yellow paper with crooked talismans drawn on it. That was a discarded talisman that the shaman had casually drawn earlier, but I knew that wasn't scrap paper. It was a talisman used to guide the souls of animals to the afterlife. Written on it was the birth date of that rabid dog. The villagers were superstitious. Even after killing the rabid dog, they feared retaliation, so they specifically asked a shamaness to draw a talisman to suppress it. The shaman casually brought it over and tossed it aside. My heart was pounding like a drum. There were only a few seconds left. I had to replace Li Yaozu's birth details with those of the mad dog. I took a deep breath, barefoot, and slipped out like a ghost. The shaman was bowing her head to light incense. Li Yaozu was still playing games, cursing his teammates as pigs. I crouched down and quickly approached the altar. Hand reached toward the base of the incense burner. Fingertips touched the edge of that red paper. Just then, Li Yaozu suddenly looked up. Mom, why haven't you come back yet? He turned his head, and his gaze swept right past my direction. I instantly dropped to the ground, using the altar tablecloth to conceal myself. My heart felt like it was about to leap out of my throat. Li Yaozu didn't see me. He lowered his head again and continued cursing his teammates. Damn, can you even play? Feeding kills. I breathed a sigh of relief, my back drenched in cold sweat. Taking advantage of the moment he looked down, I reached out again. My fingers swiftly pulled out the red paper from under the incense burner. Then, I stuffed in the yellow paper that had long been crumpled in my hand, bearing the birth date of the mad dog. The movements flowed seamlessly. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. Clutching Li Yaozu's red paper with his birth details in my palm, I quickly crawled backward into the inner room. Just as I entered the room, my mother's footsteps echoed in the courtyard. Here it comes, the blood is here. I jumped onto the bed, pulled the covers over myself, my heart still pounding violently against my chest. The red paper in my hand was clenched tightly, as if I were gripping Li Yaozu's lifeline. In the main hall, the ritual began. The shaman's voice grew high-pitched as she chanted incomprehensible incantations. Heavenly spirits, earthly spirits, Li family has a son, Li Yaozu. May all calamities recede, and blessings befall him. The substitute is set. The disaster is transferred. By the decree of the Supreme Lord Laozi, act swiftly as commanded. I heard the sound of liquid being splashed. It was dog's blood being poured onto the altar. Then came the crackling sound of the fire basin burning. Yaozu, kowtow quickly. Kowtow to your sister. Oh no, to your substitute. My mother's voice trembled with excitement. Bang, bang, bang. Li Yaozu's kowtow was loud and resounding. Sister, don't blame me. If you must blame someone, blame your own unfortunate fate. I am the only son in our family. I cannot afford to have anything happen to me. Don't worry, every year on this day, I will burn paper money for you." He was laughing, there was not a trace of guilt in his tone, only the relief of being about to get rid of a problem. I lay in the darkness, laughing silently. "Go ahead and kowtow a few more times. Every time you kowtow now, you're bowing to that mad dog. Take a dog as a substitute, and exchange your human life for its canine life, Li Yaozu, this is what you asked for yourself." The shamanist's voice suddenly rose sharply. "Begin." A gust of eerie wind seemed to sweep through the main hall, even the curtain of the inner room moved slightly. I felt a chill. In my previous life, it was at this moment that I felt as if all the strength in my body had been drained away. That was the feeling of my fortune being forcibly stripped away, but this time, I just felt completely relaxed. Instead, I heard a yelp of pain from outside. Was that an auditory hallucination? No, that was Li Yaozu's voice. "What's going on, Yaozu? What's wrong with you?" My mother cried out in alarm. "It's nothing, Mom, my throat was just itchy, and I coughed." Li Yaozu's voice sounded strange, as if something was stuck in his throat. The shaman burst into laughter. It's done. That sound just now was the sound of the evil aura leaving his body. All the misfortune that was on your son has now been transferred to that girl. From now on, he is destined for great wealth and honor." My mother cried tears of joy. "Thank you, great immortal. Thank you, great immortal. Here are 2,000 yuan. Please take them." 2,000 yuan. Back then, 2,000 yuan was enough to cover my tuition and accommodation for a whole year. I begged her for a long time, wanting to buy a few review materials, but she always said she had no money now. To give Li Yaozu peace of mind, she doesn't even blink an eye. "All right, the ritual is done." The shamaness packed up her things and prepared to leave. "Remember, that red paper under the array's focal point must be burned completely. Burn it to ashes, mix it in water, and have the girl drink it. Only then will this matter be truly settled." My heart tightened. She still has to drink the charm water, and it's the charm water made from burning that paper. That piece of paper now pressed under the incense burner is the mad dog's birth details. If I drink it, no, that's not right. The shaman said it was the red paper pressed under the formation's eye, but what I just swapped in was yellow paper. What if the shaman finds out? I nervously pricked up my ears. All I could hear was the sound of paper burning. Why is this paper a bit yellowed?" my mom asked suspiciously. The shaman waved her hand impatiently. "It's lit by the firelight. Burn it quickly. Don't miss the auspicious time." My mother didn't dare to say another word. Soon, a smell of burning wafted over. "All right, take it in and make her drink it," the shaman commanded. Footsteps approached once more. My mother, holding the bowl of water mixed with paper ashes, charged in with a fierce momentum. This time, she wasted no words. He directly yanked my blanket off. "Li Zhaodi, get up and drink your medicine." She grabbed my hair with one hand and poured the bowl into my mouth with the other. The action was as rough as force-feeding livestock. I struggled desperately, keeping my mouth tightly shut. Wah, still trying to dodge. "Drink it now." Li Yaozu also ran in and held down my legs. "Sis, just drink it. Mom is doing this for your own good." He has great strength, his nails digging into my flesh. I feel some fine, stiff hairs growing on the back of his hand, pricking me painfully. "Is that dog hair?" My heart surged with wild joy. Has retribution come so quickly? But I can't afford to be happy right now. That bowl of black water is already pressed to my lips. I suddenly turn my head and bite down on my mother's wrist. I bite down hard, biting with all my might. "Ah!" My mother let out a sharp cry and loosened her grip. The bowl fell to the ground, click, shattered into pieces. Black water splattered all over the floor. "You little brat, how dare you bite me?" My mother clutched her wrist, blood seeping through her fingers. Her face twisted like a demon's as she raised her foot and kicked me in the stomach. Bang! I was kicked so hard that I slammed against the bed frame, my entire body trembling from the impact, but I didn't call out. I just stared intently at the puddle of black water on the ground, feeling a wave of relief in my heart. I didn't drink it. As long as I didn't drink it, this final step wouldn't be considered complete. Although my fate has changed, I'm not sure if drinking this potion will have any side effects. "Mom, are you okay?" Li Yaozu let go of my leg and rushed over to support my mother. He turned his head and glared at me viciously. That look, it wasn't human. The pupils were somewhat dilated, the whites of the eyes filled with red veins, exuding a fierce, beast-like glare. "Li Zhaodi, you're looking for death." He lunged forward, pinned me down, and rained blows on my face and body. "Dare to bite Mom, I'll beat you to death, beat you to death." As he hit, a low growl rumbled in his throat, droplets of saliva sprayed all over my face, it stank, the stench was like that of a dead rat. I protected my head and curled up into a ball. Every heavy blow made me want to vomit from the pain, but I endured it. I'll remember this beating. Tomorrow, I'll make you pay it back double. Enough, Yaozu, don't beat her to death. My mother pulled Li Yaozu away. It's not that you feel sorry for me, you're afraid that if I die, there will be no one to take on the misfortune. The great immortals said we must keep her alive to suffer. My mother gasped for breath, staring at the broken bowl on the ground, her face dark and terrifying. The talisman water is spilled. What should we do now? She looked anxiously toward the main hall. The shaman had already taken the money and left. Forget it, the ritual is done anyway. This wretched girl has a tough fate. Even without drinking the charm water, she won't escape. She turned her head and stared at me with a sinister gaze. Li Zhaodi, I originally wanted to let you sleep peacefully. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being impolite. She walked over to my desk. It was a table made from 2 broken wooden crates. My admission ticket is placed on top, along with a few pens. That is my lifeline. It is my only hope of escaping this hell. My mother snatched the admission ticket. Not drinking the charm water. Still want to take the exam, do you? What if you get into college and run away? If you run away, who will take on the misfortunes for your brother? She pulled a lighter out of her pocket. With a loud smack, the flame leaped out. My pupils contracted sharply, and I sprang up from the bed. Don't move, that's my exam admission ticket. I lunged forward like a madman. Get away from me. Li Yaozu kicked me in the knee. I fell to my knees with a thud. I watched helplessly as the flames licked at the thin piece of paper. No, I roared and reached out to snatch it, but my mother held it high. The firelight illuminated her ferocious, smiling face. Go to college, dream on. Your fate in this life is to pave the way for your brother. The paper quickly curled, turned black, and turned to ashes, drifting and fluttering. It fell to the ground. That was my name, my photo, my future. All gone. I slumped to the ground, trembling as I stared at the small pile of ashes. Despair. In my previous life, I was filled with despair, but in this life, I raised my head and looked at the smug mother and son. Burn it well, I whispered softly. The voice was hoarse, carrying a hint of blood. My mother froze for a moment. What did you say? Are you crazy? I pushed myself up from the ground, slowly standing, wiping the blood from the corner of my mouth. I say, it's a good burn, because that exam admission ticket was fake. The real one had long been sewn into the hidden layer of my underwear, pressed against my skin, burning hot, had been guarding against this move all along. The moment of breakdown just now was merely an act for you to see. If I didn't make you think my escape route was cut off, how could you rest easy and go to sleep? If I didn't make you feel everything was foolproof, how could tomorrow's show go on? Mom, I think she's been driven mad by the shock. Li Yaozu scratched his neck, his nails leaving several bloody marks on the skin. It's so itchy. Why is it so itchy? As he spoke, he stuck out his tongue and licked the blood on the back of his hand. The action was so natural it sent chills down one's spine. My mother didn't notice his abnormality, just gave me a disgusted look. It's better if she's stupid, she'll be more obedient. Lock the door and seal the windows shut. From now until the exam ends tomorrow, don't give her a single drop of water, and don't let her out. I don't see her with an admission ticket. How could she possibly fly out of here? Bang! The heavy wooden door was slammed shut with a thud. Then came the sound of chains being wrapped around, followed by the sharp click of a large lock snapping into place. From outside the window, the sound of nails being hammered in could also be heard. Bang, bang, bang. Each sound was like a nail driven into the coffin board. The room sank into a deadly darkness. I touched the exam permit hidden close to my body, listening to Li Yaozu's growing complaints outside the door. Mom, I want to eat meat, raw. The real show has only just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I leaned against the door, listening to the sounds outside. Li Yaozu tossed and turned in the next room, the bed creaking from time to time. A few low whimpers could be heard, like a dog barking under a blanket. My mother probably thought he was dreaming, so she scolded him a couple of times before falling silent. The sky was just beginning to lighten. I heard the sound of my mother getting up. She was bustling about in the kitchen, the sound of chopping meat echoing loudly. Yaozu, get up and eat some meat. Mom made you braised pork. The aroma of the meat wafted into my room, making my stomach growl, but I wasn't the least bit tempted, because I knew that meat was for the top scholar to eat. Eating it would shorten one's lifespan. I won't eat braised pork. Li Yaozu's voice sounded very irritable, with a vague, sticky quality to it. I want to eat it raw, with blood. The sound of plates shattering came from the kitchen. "Oh my goodness, my dear, how can you eat meat raw? There could be parasites. I want it, give it to me." After the sound of a scuffle came the sound of chewing. The sound of tearing raw meat and swallowing tendons was particularly jarring in the quiet early morning. My mom seemed to be frightened and didn't speak for a long time. After a while, she finally said tremblingly, all right. If you like it, eat it. It might be the lingering effects of the immortals' ritual. It's good to nourish your body." As long as Li Yaozu wanted to do something, even if it was eating shit, she could find a reason to praise him. After breakfast, they went out. My mother shouted from outside the door, "You little brat, stay put, we'll deal with you after we send Yaozu to finish his exam." The chugging sound of the tractor gradually faded away, the room returned to a deathly silence. I jumped down from the bed, walked to the window. The window was nailed shut with several wooden planks, leaving only tiny gaps, not even wide enough for a cat to slip through. But this doesn't stump me. The walls of this house are made of adobe, and they've fallen into disrepair over the years. The soil beneath the window frame has long since loosened. I fished out a rusty pair of scissors from under the bed. I hid this last night. I chiseled hard into the soil beneath the window frame. Once, twice, soil chips flew everywhere. My hands were scraped raw, blood mixing with the dirt, but I felt no pain. There was only one thought: I need to get out. I have to go take the exam. I need to leave this devouring home. Half an hour later, the window frame is loose. I pushed with all my strength. With a loud crash, the entire window frame, along with several clay bricks, fell out, revealing a gap the size of a dog hole. It's enough. I wrapped my exam admission ticket and ID card in a plastic bag and stuffed them into the sole of my shoe. Then, like a snake, I slipped out through that hole. The sunlight outside was blinding. I squinted my eyes and took a deep breath of the free air. Without looking back at that cage, I took off running. I don't take the main road, afraid of running into villagers or my mother. I duck into the cornfield, where the stalks are as tall as a person. The corn leaves slice across my face and arms like blades, leaving streaks of blood, but I run as fast as I can. The wind howled in my ears. It was as if it were cheering me on. By the time I reached the town, I was a muddy mess. My hair was a tangled mess, and my clothes were covered in mud and grass stains. The entrance to the exam site was already crowded with parents. I saw my mom. She was wearing that red coat she only dared to wear during the new year, standing on tiptoe to look inside. Li Yaozu had already gone in. I lowered my head and blended in with a few late arriving examinees. The security guard glanced at me, frowned, but after seeing the admission ticket in my hand, he still let me pass. "Hurry up. There are only 5 minutes left before the exam hall is sealed." The moment I rushed into the exam hall, the preparatory bell rang right on time. Sitting in my seat, I was gasping for breath. The proctor handed me a tissue. "Classmate, wipe your sweat, don't be nervous." I took the tissue, my hands still trembling. It wasn't nervousness, it's exciting. I've come back to life. The first subject is Chinese. The exam papers were handed out. Looking at those familiar questions, I almost shed tears. In my previous life, I was in a deep sleep. At this moment, in this life, the pen is in my hand. I take a deep breath and begin to answer the questions. The pen tip rustles on the paper, the most beautiful sound in the world. At the same time, in another examination hall, Li Yaozu was scratching his head in frustration. He looked at the characters on the test paper, feeling as if they were all moving. Those square characters, in his eyes, turned into little flying insects. Buzz buzz. He waved his hand irritably to shoo it away. Woof. He suddenly let out a cry. The sound wasn't loud, but it was particularly abrupt in the quiet examination hall. The surrounding examinees all looked up at him. The invigilator walked over. "This student, please keep quiet." Li Yaozu glared with bloodshot eyes, a low growl rumbling in his throat. He felt so itchy all over. It felt as if millions of ants were crawling under the skin. He couldn't resist reaching to scratch it. The more I scratched, the itchier it became. The more I scratched, my nails broke the skin, and beads of blood welled up. He smelled the scent of blood, but instead of feeling pain, he felt so fragrant. The 2 days of exams felt like a dream to me. After each exam, I hid in the bathroom, waiting until everyone had left before sneaking out. I dare not go home. I spent the night sleeping on the bleachers of the school playground, feeding mosquitoes all night long, but my heart was at peace, because I knew that Li Yaozu's condition must be getting worse. The last exam was over. I followed the crowd out of the test center. From a distance, I spotted my mom. She didn't see me. Her attention was entirely on Li Yaozu. Li Yaozu was helped out by her. He was trembling all over, wearing a mask with the brim of his hat pulled down low, but the back of his hand, which was exposed, was covered in scabs of blood. His walking posture was also very strange, limping, the knee always involuntarily bends, as if wanting to crawl on the ground. Yaozu, how did you do on the exam? My mother anxiously asked. Li Yaozu didn't speak, only letting out a muffled sob from his throat. He abruptly shook off my mother's hand and rushed toward a trash can by the roadside. Inside, someone had just thrown away half of a leftover hamburger. Li Yaozu plunged his head into the trash can, grabbed the hamburger, and stuffed it into his mouth. He swallowed it along with the wrapper. Oh my, Yaozu, what are you doing? My mom was terrified and rushed over to pull him away. That's trash, it's filthy. Li Yaozu turned his head, and even through the mask, I could feel his fierce gaze. He growled at my mother, like a beast guarding its food. The surrounding parents and examinees pointed and whispered, "What's wrong with this kid? Has he gone crazy from too much pressure?" My mother's face flushed a deep purple, as she forced a smile at the onlookers. The child is exhausted from the exam, low blood sugar, low blood sugar. While desperately dragging Li Yaozu onto the tractor, I stood behind the crowd, watching the scene coldly. Low blood sugar, is this a precursor to rabies? No, it's the displacement of fate. The fate of a mad dog is gradually devouring his humanity. I did not return to that home. I found a small restaurant in town to wash dishes, with meals and accommodation provided. The owner's wife took pity on me and even advanced me 200 yuan in wages. I stayed there, working while waiting for my exam results. During this time, I heard some rumors from the village. They say the Li family's precious son came back from his exams and was possessed by evil spirits. He hides in his room all day, refusing to come out, with the curtains drawn tightly shut. As soon as night falls, strange sounds can be heard from the Li family's courtyard. It sounds like a dog barking, yet also like a person crying. Some people also saw that Li Daqiang, my dad, went to town and bought a lot of raw meat. Every time passing by the Li family's door, one can smell a foul odor. Everyone says that this is because Li Yaozu passed the imperial examination as the top scholar, and the Wenchang star has descended, and he is secluded in cultivation. My mother also publicly declared. My Yaozu said that this is practicing Qigong, preparing for going to university. Practicing Qigong, more like crawling on the ground. Divine skill. Half a month later, the day of the college entrance exam results release has arrived. I went to the internet cafe early. The finger entering the exam admission number trembled slightly. The enter key was pressed. The screen refreshed. Total score, 718, provincial top scorer. I looked at that number, and finally, tears streamed down my face. I succeeded. I took back the life that was originally mine. I wiped away my tears and printed out the transcript. Then, I dialed the police emergency number. Hello, 911, I want to report someone engaging in feudal superstition, fraud and practicing medicine illegally. Yes, in Lijia village. That witch doctor. Hung up the phone, holding my report card. I boarded the bus back to the village. Today is a big day for the Li family. My mother had already made it clear that no matter what the score was, we would hold a celebration banquet for my college admission, because the fortune teller said that Li Yaozu is the chosen one and is sure to get into Tsinghua or Peking University. When I arrived home, the courtyard was already filled with banquet tables. The whole village has come, bustling with excitement. My mother was dressed in a brand new cheongsam, her face powdered heavily, beaming with joy as she greeted the guests. Oh, everyone, eat well and drink well. Our Yaozu is still upstairs changing clothes. He'll be down in a moment to toast everyone. My dad also boasted beside me. My son is a literary star, destined to become a high-ranking official in the future. I pushed open the courtyard gate and walked in. Well, if it isn't Zhaodi. Someone recognized me. Where the hell have you been all these days? You didn't even come back to help with your brother's wedding. My mother saw me and her expression changed. She rushed over, lowering her voice to scold. You wretched girl, you finally remembered to come back. You got away that day, and I haven't settled the score with you yet. Get the hell into the kitchen and work. Don't embarrass yourself here. I didn't move. I pulled the report card from my pocket and unfolded it. Mom, I got in, I said calmly. The voice wasn't loud, but everyone around heard it. Got in? Got into what? A vocational college. Someone jeered. I held the report card high. 718 points. The top science student in the province. The entire room fell silent. Everyone widened their eyes, staring at that piece of paper. My mom froze in surprise. She snatched the report card and looked at it for a long time. Although she was illiterate, she recognized that number. This is yours. She looked at me in disbelief. Impossible. How could this possibly be yours? Your life wasn't exchanged for. She suddenly covered her mouth, looking in horror at the window upstairs. If I am the top scholar, then what is Li Yaozu upstairs? Just then, the window on the second floor suddenly shattered with a loud crash. A dark figure leaped down from above. Woof, woof, woof. The piercing sound of a dog's bark echoed throughout the entire courtyard. The dark figure landed heavily on the banquet table. Soup splashed everywhere, and plates flew in all directions. The guests screamed and scattered in panic. It was Li Yaozu, but he no longer looked human. He was on all fours, crouched over the table. His clothes were torn into strips of fabric, hanging loosely from his body. The exposed skin was covered in thick, dark hair. His nails grew long and sharp, digging deep into the wooden table. The most terrifying part was his face. His mouth protruded outward, with jagged teeth and long strands of drool. There was not a trace of humanity in his eyes, only the wild frenzy of a beast. Yaozu, my dad was so startled that he dropped the wine glass in his hand. Woof, Li Yaozu called out to my dad, his voice hoarse and unpleasant. He suddenly lunged forward and bit into a roast chicken on the table, swallowing it whole without even spitting out the bones, chewing it up and gulping it down. What's going on here? How did the Li family's kid turn into a dog? Must be possessed by evil spirits. The villagers were murmuring and pointing. My mother rolled her eyes back and nearly fainted. She mustered all her strength, rushed forward, and hugged Li Yaozu. My son, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me like this. I'm your mother. Li Yaozu, being hugged, appeared very agitated. A threatening low growl rumbled in his throat. Suddenly, he turned his head. He took a bite out of my mother's arm. Ah! My mother screamed in agony, blood streaming down. Li Yaozu tore off a piece of flesh and chewed it with relish. Murder, a mad dog is biting people. Someone shouted. The scene was completely out of control. I stood outside the crowd, watching the scene coldly, watching my mother roll on the ground, clutching her arm, watching my dad holding a broom, wanting to hit but not daring to, watching the once cherished, literary star, turn into a beast that only knows how to devour people. This is the noble fate you wanted. This is the blessing you prayed for. It's you, you're the jinx. My mother suddenly saw me. It was as if she had grabbed a lifeline, or found an outlet for her anger. Ignoring her bleeding arm, she got up from the ground and pointed at me, cursing. It's you who harmed Yaozu. It must be you. That day the ritual wasn't completed, was it? You passed all the misfortune back to your brother, didn't you? She rushed over to hit me. I took a step back. Mom, what nonsense are you talking about? I deliberately pretended to be innocent. Didn't the great immortal say it himself that day? The ritual was successful. The great immortal said, my brother has a noble fate, while mine is a lowly one. Now I am the top scholar, and my brother has ended up like this. I paused, glancing around at the villagers. Could it be that the great immortal misjudged? Actually, my brother was always a beastly life. These words felt like a slap in the face, striking the Li family hard. You're talking nonsense, my father roared, lifting a stool and swinging it over. I'll beat you to death, you unfilial daughter. Just as the stool was about to hit my head, the sound of police sirens blared. Several police cars pulled up at the courtyard gate. Who called the police? Several police officers walked in. I raised my hand. I called it in. I'm reporting that there are people here engaging in feudal superstition, child abuse, and illegal medical practice causing injury and disability. I pointed at Li Yaozu, who was still gnawing on a bone at the table, that which made me drink talisman water too, and she gave my brother some weird stuff to drink. Now my brother has gone crazy. The police were stunned by the scene. Someone immediately stepped forward to restrain Li Yaozu. Li Yaozu struggled desperately, biting anyone who came near. In the end, riot forks and tranquilizer darts were used to subdue him. Take all relevant personnel away. The police gave the order. Both my mother and father were taken away in a police car. The witch was also brought over from the neighboring village. Seeing Li Yaozu's condition, she was so frightened that her legs went weak. It's not my fault. They were the ones who wanted to exchange their fates. I was just trying to swindle some money. That charm water was just plant ash. I had no idea he would actually turn into a dog. The shaman wailed in despair. The truth was laid bare. The villagers suddenly understood, looking at the Li family with contempt in their eyes. So they wanted to harm their daughter, but ended up harming their son instead. This is what you call reaping what you sow. Serves you right. A whole family of black-hearted scoundrels. I stood by the police car, watching my mother's face filled with despair. She stared at me with a gaze full of venom and resentment. Li Zhaodi, may you die a miserable death. I smiled, smiling brighter than the sun. Mom, don't worry, I will live a very good life, better than any of you. Li Yaozu was sent to a mental hospital. The doctor said it was a rare mental illness called lycanthropy, or a variant of rabies, but I know, that's not an illness, that's fate. That was a life he stole, one that originally belonged to that mad dog. My parents sold the house, sold the land, and spent everything they had to cure him, but Li Yaozu's condition grew worse. He no longer speaks human language, only barks. He doesn't wear clothes and relieves himself wherever he pleases. Whenever he sees anything red, he goes into a frenzy and attacks. It is said that during the ritual that night, everything he saw was red. I never returned to that village again. It was the place of my sorrow, and also the place of my burial. In this lifetime, I want to fly far, far away. On the day university began, I dragged my suitcase and walked into the university I had always dreamed of. The campus was vast and beautiful. Sunlight filtered through the sycamore leaves, casting dappled shadows. I stood in front of the library and took a deep breath. This is the taste of knowledge, it is the taste of freedom. I applied for a student loan and took on 2 part-time jobs. Though it was tough, I found it all worthwhile, because every penny is earned by myself, every meal is eaten with peace of mind. 6 months later, received a call from the police station, saying my mother wants to see me. I didn't want to go, but after thinking it over, I still went. I wanted to see what had become of that once arrogant woman. In the visitation room, through the thick glass, I saw my mom. She has aged, her hair is completely white, her face covered in wrinkles, and her eye sockets are sunken. Dressed in prison clothes, she looks like an old woman in her 60s or 70s. She saw me, a glimmer of light flickering in her murky eyes. It was a greedy light. Zhaodi, Zhaodi. She clutched the phone, her voice trembling. You've made something of yourself now. You're a college student. Can you save your brother? The hospital says they'll stop the medication if there's no money. Your brother can't go without his medicine. He's your own flesh and blood. I held the microphone, looking at her with an expressionless face. This is my mother. Even at this moment, all she can think about is that son who turned into a dog. Mom, I spoke. Do you know why Li Yaozu ended up like that? My mom froze in surprise. Why? I leaned closer to the glass, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Because of that night, I swapped his birth details with those of the dead dog at the village entrance. Bang! The microphone in my mother's hand fell onto the table. Her mouth hung open, her eyes wide with shock. It was as if someone had grabbed her by the throat, leaving her unable to make a sound. You, she pointed at me, her finger trembling violently. It's you, it really is you. You killed him. She pounded on the glass like a madwoman, screaming hysterically. The prison guard rushed over to restrain her. I watched her go crazy in silence. There wasn't a single ripple in my heart. Mom, isn't this what you taught me? I whispered softly. You said, as the older sister, I have a tough fate and should take on the disasters for my brother. Since my brother has enjoyed the blessings meant for me, shouldn't he also take on the disaster meant for that dog? This is called reciprocity. I hung up the phone, turned and left. Behind me came my mother's desperate wail. Li Zhaodi, you are a devil, a devil. Maybe so, if it's for survival, for living with dignity. I don't mind being a devil. As I stepped out of the prison, a light rain began to fall. I opened my umbrella and walked along the wet street. My mood was surprisingly good. My last connection to that family was completely severed. From now on, I am Li Zhaodi. No, I'm going to change my name. I am no longer Zhaodi, no longer existing for anyone else. I want to be called Li Xingnan or Li Zio, or any name I wish to be called. A few years later, I graduated with a bachelor's degree and was recommended for a direct PhD program at my university. I joined a national key laboratory and conducted research under the guidance of my supervisor. My name began to appear in various academic journals. I found a group of like-minded friends. I also have a boyfriend who respects and cares for me. He knows about my past, but he never pities me. He said, you are a big tree that grew out of a crack in the rock, stronger than any flower in a greenhouse. And the Li family, it's all over. My mother went insane in prison. She spent her days kowtowing to the corner, muttering, spare me, immortal. Not long after, she died in prison from exhaustion. My father borrowed a high-interest loan to treat Li Yaozu's illness. In the end, he couldn't repay it, had his leg broken, and became a beggar. He once ran into me while begging on the street. At that time, I was wearing professional attire and heading to an international conference with my mentor. He recognized me dragging his crippled leg. He tried to rush over and cling to my thigh. Sweetheart, I'm your father, give me some money, your brother is starving to death. The security guard stopped him. I stopped in my tracks and looked at him. The man who once chased me with a stick was now lying on the ground like a mangy dog. He reeked of a foul odor. I don't know him, I said to the security guard. Then, holding my mentor's hand, I left without looking back. As for Li Yaozu, I heard he escaped from the mental hospital. He ran back to the village, but he has completely lost his humanity. He attacked the chickens and ducks in the village and even bit a child. Finally, surrounded by the angry villagers, just like when they beat that rabid dog to death back in the day, beaten to death with random sticks, when he died, he was still howling at the moon. It is said that his body was thrown into that foul ditch, exactly where that mad dog died. This is probably fate. A stolen life must eventually be repaid, and it must be repaid with interest. Many years later, I have become a top scientist in the industry, standing on the Nobel Prize stage. The lights are dazzling, and the applause is thunderous. I am wearing a proper suit, smiling as I receive the medal. The host asks me, "Professor Lee, what has supported you in reaching this point today?" I thought about it. The thunderstorm night flashed through my mind. The bowl of pitch-black talisman water flashed through my mind. The admission ticket that had been burned to ashes flashed through my mind. The girl who froze to death in despair inside the cowshed flashed through my mind. I spoke slowly into the microphone. It is a defiance of fate. Moreover, it is because I know that only by standing at the highest point can those who try to trample you into the mud be forced to look up at you. After the award ceremony ended, I walked out of the venue. In Stockholm, Sweden, it is the polar night. The aurora flickers in the sky, so beautiful it seems otherworldly. I take out my phone and glance at the date. It's June 6th again, the day of the college entrance exam. It was also the day of my rebirth. I deleted the last photo of Ligia village from my phone. It was an old black and white photo, showing that dilapidated earthen house and those ignorant, cruel parents. Click to delete. Empty the recycle bin. It's all over. A cold wind blew, and I tightened my coat. My boyfriend walked over with a cup of hot coffee and handed it to me. Cold, not cold. I took the coffee, warmth spreading from my palms throughout my body. Let's go home. All right, let's go home. We tread side by side on the snowy ground, leaving a trail of footprints. Ahead lies the endless starlight. I pause and glance back at the path we have taken. The darkness has been cast behind us, only the footprints on the snow, clear and resolute. I turned around and strode forward.